Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Spellbinders and the Fun Stamper's Journey stamp of the month for January of 2020. This is an absolutely adorable stamp set, and it brings back the idea of snail mail. I love snail mail. So this is called Hugs Enclosed, and you get 22 stamps in this set. So you get lots of those small images to create backgrounds if you want. So you get some envelopes, you get an envelope with a heart, you get a mailbox, you get a little tiny bird with a banner, and some of the sentiments fit right in that banner. So let's dive right in. So I'm not going to use the bird with the banner, but I am going to use those sentiments. So I have this idea with the way that they swirled, the sky. So that's what I was thinking of, airmail. So I'm going to stamp, I'm testing out the colors. I know I wanted this in gray. I didn't want it to be black. So I'm pulling out some different grays that I have, my gray series from scrapbook.com. And I'm going to stamp out these sentiments, both the special delivery and Hugs Enclosed. And again, these sentiments fit within the banner that comes off behind the bird that's, flying. So by me having those down, I'm creating this curve. Now, I'm not creating a background pattern. What I'm actually going to do with these is create clouds. So I'm going to come in with my pencil and I'm going to I want to draw around that sentiment and create a cloud that goes around it. And again, I'm going to be cutting these out, so the clouds don't have to be perfect. Nothing ever has to be perfect. But I do want to follow the curve of that sentiment, just when it comes to that area. So the cloud could be bigger, it could be longer, whatever it is, but the curve that hits that sentiment is going to go right along that. So again, I'm just lightly drawing those clouds out. Now, I'm also noticing right about now that I only have 4, and for those of you that have seen my videos before, we know I must have an odd number. So we will be doing a 5th one. Because we must have that. So, I'm going to, as strange as this sounds, fussy cut these out. Now, you don't even have to draw the clouds. If you just cut out cloud shapes, you can do that as well. I just like to have a guide. I think they would all be the same if I didn't draw out my clouds. So, it just would have been interesting. So, I'm using my small detailed scissors just to cut these out. And that's okay that that one has a flat edge, because these were kind of placed how they're going to be on my background piece. So kind of in the same area. And if you heard that, I apologize. That would be my cat. So you never know. You may hear my cat meow in a second. So now that we have those set, I'm going to bring in my white eraser, and I'm just going to erase those lines. I'm not going to be too worried if they're still there slightly, because I am going to come in with my alcohol markers and provide the shade to the clouds. So it's okay if it's the pencil, because let's face it, the pencil's gray, right? Right. So here I am. I'm using my cool shades of my alcohol markers, C1, 3, and 5. And these are probably, I own very few Copics. So I'm going to come in with the 3 and just create the shadows, similar to how my pencil lines were. And then I'm going to come in with the lighter shade, C1, just to blend those out a little bit more. And if you hear my cat, that's him purring. So the fifth one will come in. Now, there was one here that you're not seeing that I got very overzealous in my alcohol coloring. And I had set it aside, but it will come in because I'm actually going to layer. I will be layering that piece behind another. And there it is. See, I got very overzealous. So I'm just going to cut some of that away, make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to tuck that in behind one of the hugs enclosed. So I'm going to have this one cloud set that's going to say special delivery hugs enclosed as one. So I am going to use my liquid adhesive just to get these two attached together. Once that's set, I'm going to then trace around lightly where these clouds are going to be, because now I want to stamp my envelopes, and I'm using two of the envelopes. The only one I'm not, or the two that I'm not using, is the one with the cute little face and the one that's opened. So I'm using the airmail one and the one with the heart. And I am sorry if you're hearing my cat. He is just too precious right now. So sorry about that. So now I'm going to ink using the same color ink that I did, the charcoal. That's the color that I'm using as I did for my sentiments. I'm going to use that same ink to stamp out my images. I wanted the line of the cloud because I want these envelopes to come out of the cloud. That was my thought process, that these envelopes are floating on the clouds and then these clouds are coming in. Yeah, there was a lot of thought. there was just a lot of different thoughts that I had with this card. Anywho, once these are stamped, I'm also going to stamp these two images out, because I wasn't quite sure if they were the same exact image, or, you know, dimensions and everything. So I stamped both of these out onto masking paper, because then the next thing I need to do is I need to mask these images out, because I'm actually going to use my colored pencils to color those images in, and also some alcohol markers. So I'm going to cut those out and set those in place. I wanted those covered so that I could ink blend the sky, because I wanted to use, of course, my blue dye inks for that background. Now, I'm starting with a very pale shade. I think it's called Blue Slippers or something like that, from scrapbook.com. It's the lightest shade from their blue collection. And I realized, okay, this is just way too light. I'm then coming in with one of their midtones for out of the blue collection. And it's actually called, I'm looking at it, Surfboard. And that's the color that I'm using for that. And you can see I'm staying close to the envelopes, because I do want them to stand out. Now, as I apply this blue, you start seeing the lighter shade. And I'm sorry, that lighter shade is called Ball Gown Blue. So now I'm just filling in those areas outside of the clouds to make sure that we've got that blue going all around. But I'm also not looking for a solid coverage. I'm okay with it being spotty. I'm okay with it being, you know, blotchy. Only because our skies have, you know, wisps of white in it. They're not, You know, even if it's a beautiful clear day, you know, you still have those differences in the colors. So here I am removing the masking paper, and I did it right. And now I'm going to come in with my Prismacolor. So I really sped this up. It's not much coloring, it's not much detail, but I did want everyone to keep this in so that you can see it. I am using only 2 colors for each of the areas that I am coloring. I did not go into more than that. And it's very simple coloring. You don't even really need 2 colors. The images are so small that you could just use 1 solid color and it would still, you know, look great. Or you could, you know, be heavy using that 1 color, putting more pressure, putting more color down than on the other side, using a lighter hand, and then that will give you a different tone of that color as well. So when it comes to the one, of course, I filled in the heart, and then the one that looks like airmail, I am adding the red around, and now I'm going to come in with the blue and fill that in around that piece as well. So it looks like one of those airmail envelopes. I'm then going to come in, so when it comes to the airmail envelopes, there's a circle there, there's a image of a stamp. I'm just going to go on one side of that circle just to give it some shading for the postmark. And then I'm going to go around the outer edge with just indigo blue, just to make that dark. And then for the center part of the stamp area, I am going to use a pink and a purple, just to give it some shading down in the corner, or make it look like it does have a image there. And then I will just finish coloring those in. And then we are set to move on to the next thing. And that would be to put our clouds on. Must have our clouds. So I'm going to add some warm grays to the corner of the envelopes. I'm just going to go over the lines on the airmail envelopes, and then I'm going to come out of the corners for the ones with the heart. I'm just using my W1 and my W3. Again, very simple, two color blending, which is really where I like to be. 2 colors. That's all. So, and that's our panel. So you can see when we put our clouds in place, they're going to cover up these envelopes just a little bit. I grabbed one of my finger daubers, and I'm going to go around the outer part of my clouds with fog. Now, I used a cool gray to add my shadows to the cloud, and it looks like fog is a warm gray, which again, I'm good with. But you can definitely see the difference. And again, I'm totally okay with it. Not a problem. Just not a problem. So I'm going to erase some of those lines that I drew that I thought were just a little bit too heavy. And then I'm going to prop my clouds up with some double-sided foam tape, because of course we have to have dimension on our cards. And then we will just be setting those in place. So I had a lot of fun when it came to putting this together. There's just so many, because there's so many images, and a lot of them, and they are on the smaller side, you know, the mid to small size of the, of the stamping area. What's great is, I think when it comes to that, you can do more with those images. You can create your own backgrounds. You can create a scene. you can build upon each of those images. They're great for other cards. I just think when the images are like that, they are more versatile. I do enjoy the larger images by all means, because there's other ways that you can use those as well, especially if it's a big floral image. You know, pull out those coloring mediums and go to town coloring them. But you can see you can still do this as well when it comes to these smaller images. But they are great to build your scenes up and to create them. So this one, obviously, the one on the top is stretching between those two. And that is our panel. So I am now going to use my liquid adhesive after I unclog it because I kept it out without the pin. I'm going to definitely unclog this now. It's what happens. You really need to keep the pin in them because I'm horrible. I don't. That's when your tip will clog up, especially if you don't keep the pin in it. As long as you keep the pin in it, there's no problems. I've never had a problem with it. As long as I keep the pin in it. There's a reason why they give that to you. So this is our project that we created using the Fun Stamper's Journey stamp of the month for January 2020. I do hope you enjoyed it. Hope I gave you some ideas on what you can do with the stamp set if you do receive it. And if not, you always have an opportunity to subscribe, and those links will be down below along with their blog, their inspiration gallery, also their shop, and the other products that I used. Of course, will be down in the video description as well. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I want to thank you so much again for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, be part of my group. Make sure you ring the bell so then you're notified when the next video is live and ready for you to watch. I hope everyone's enjoying their day, but by all means, remember what's most important for me. Always be creative.